I create fictional characters from my deconstructed identity, and I release them into reality as actuality. People are fragile, their mark on the world brief, forgotten, and ultimately their existence is meaningless. I created Howard Fessler to become the storyteller, to join these dismantled elements of self together, to create another complete ego, one that exists in my place in an imagined parallel corporality. I removed myself entirely at the beginning of the work to enable Howard complete control of the plot. My ideas are distorted into his via what I imagine his perception to be. What was once flawed and grounded in supposed fact can be elevated, enabling it to transcend a world of rules and restrictions unchallenged, and breaking into a space that is neither here nor there. Instead of an artist, Howard is a writer. A three-legged tripod represents his purpose of bringing the story's three characters together. His head is encased in printed words. Without the story, he doesn't exist. Howard imitates my aspirations for him by deconstructing a second character, Jiminy Sparks, a failed illustrator and street artist. Howard transforms him into becoming the main character of his work. Howard gives Jiminy meaning, and this satisfies his own need for purpose. The box room where Jiminy resides in the story symbolises the inside of Howard's text-covered head. The walls become covered in Howard's writing, generating Jiminy's identity. Jiminy questions his beginning through sketches on the walls. Jiminy can see his escape through Howard's perception. It reveals the nature of reality. Nothing is clear and constantly readjusts. A misinterpretation of freedom. When released, Jiminy is still a contrived creation, meaning he remains trapped in his own influenced substance. The story is narrated by the third character, Harlot, illuminating her presence within Jiminy's darkroom and Howard's headspace. She represents the physical body for the work to exist within. The characters develop within her. Howard's words are spoken in the third person, expanding the process of origination, questioning who really is in control, and the layers building one persona. Jiminy does not know it is Howard who is generating the story or that Harlot is narrating. He simply takes the dialogue as his own inner voice. The intensity of the story builds. Howard's head expands and Jiminy's room becomes full of dialogue. Both are under intense pressure. Harlot's physicality becomes breathless, trying to contain them and generate them. Howard's story is trapped within his own head, and he needs to release the narrative before it implodes. Instead, the story explodes, separating the three characters from one another in a physical sense. They are now joined only by their near imperceptibility, and they correlate with the theme of inner and outer self and perception. They leave the conceptual foundations that have disintegrated, which reveal the audience's perceived actuality beneath it. Jiminy exists in a flat in this accepted world. He has been isolated within it for 10 years. He is unable to leave because he has been developing. The walls and the windows are covered with blank paper that he illustrates over as he becomes overcome by the dialogue that he believes is himself. He decides to escape for the loft, epitomising Howard's conscious mind. Jiminy loses himself in a new tangible environment. He finds himself side by side with Harlot after finding her printed image pasted upon the streets, advertising her slogan t-shirt business. Covered in words, she resembles his illustrations on paper. She mirrors him. An obsession begins through his crisis of identity. Jiminy, Howard and Harlot exist within my imagination and self, yet myself and the characters are now separate. I project the work as art upon the world around me. An art piece that enables a true escapism from actuality and brings the imagined into the unchallenged version of reality.